I'm waving at fat. Overdue Doctor Who review, and it is time to get into series 4 proper. But before we do, just a quick word to let you know that this review is sponsored by the Radio vs. the Martians podcast. Mike Gillis and Casey Dorn and a revolving door of guests come and talk about all sorts of geeky things, from Ghostbusters to comic books to wrestling to Batman to the oeuvre of one Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's always fun. It's always informative. It is frequently funny. Radio vs. the Martians, radioversusthemartians.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. So, let us talk about the reintroduction of Donna Noble into Doctor Who with Partners in Crime. So, I make no bones about the fact that Donna is my favorite companion. Like, I'm not going to hold that as like, I'll bring this up later on. Like, no. Like, know that going in. Donna's my favorite companion. So, there's going to be a fair amount of stuff where I'm just going to kind of gush about her. Which is interesting because if you watched my Runaway Bride review, she's kind of grating in that one. Which I do think kind of works, that we met her that way. There was a gap of time which we get a little bit of information on here, and then she's kind of in a different place by the time this starts up, which I do think overall works. That said, it doesn't make her actual appearance in Runaway Bride any less grating. It just makes the journey for the character work ultimately, but that was still a painful episode to go back for. This I don't find particularly painful, except for a couple of moments which I will bring up and I will mention. But it's great seeing her just sort of aching for something more. You really get that, like, especially when she's talking with Wilf, and also Wilf is back. I didn't really talk about Wilf in the previous review, when I was talking about Voyage of the Damned, because, like, I had so much other stuff I wanted to talk about. He's just kind of there for a bit. And while he's cute in that, I didn't fall in love with Wilf until scenes like this, where he's talking with Donna. He looks at her and he gets her. Like, he gets that she's disaffected in a way that her mother absolutely does not. And not that her mother is cruel, but her mother just doesn't get it. And her grandfather does. Wilf does get it, and he's so sweet and so kind. And the two of them together is fantastic. So I like that Donna is just kind of looking into things that she thinks will eventually cause her to run into the Doctor again. I do think that the kind of almost running into each other, not quite running into each other thing that they've got going in like the first half of the episode, I think that's pretty fun and pretty well done. A little cheesy perhaps, but like that's the kind of cheesy I can roll with. The kind of cheesy that's actually hard for me and is a painful moment is the extended pantomime charade thing where they're like, thing, between the doors. And I don't love that moment. I never have. It's not my style of humor. And I feel like in a lot of ways they felt obligated to do it just because that kind of comedy is in Catherine Tate's wheelhouse, which is my acknowledgement that, yes, it's done well. It's just not a kind of comedy that I like, especially given that it kind of drags on and just keeps going for a bit. I do like the way it ends, though, and of course, once the two are paired together, I love their rapport. Donna's retaining a little bit of that sort of harshness, for lack of a better term, from the Runaway Bride, but she has an eagerness to get to do this again that is undercutting that and softening it just enough, which is good. They're not at their full banter rapport yet, but there are early hints of it, like when the two of them are confronting Miss Foster, and they've got a little bit of back and forth, and I'm like, there it is. That's the stuff. I love that. As far as the story itself goes, outside of the reuniting of these two characters, it's functional. It works as kind of a weird little alien scheme kind of thing. The idea of the living fat is really weird, but I can roll with it. I can dig it. Also, in terms of upping the danger of it, because like initially you're like, this seems like a win-win. You foster your kids, and you know, these people lose weight. And the doctor even kind of acknowledges that, like, no, it seems like a good system. But because, you know, she is willing to sacrifice people, she's not supposed to be doing it in the first place. Although that was weird. Like this, hearing, like, the doctor has invoked the Shadow Proclamation before, but there's something about the doctor quoting, you know, chapter and verse of galactic law that throws me off. I think a lot of it just has to depend on who he's doing it to. So, like, if he's confronting somebody that you would think, well, they care about the law, okay, fine, that's fair enough. But with someone like Miss Foster, who is clearly, you know, brazenly going against what she should be doing, for him to stand there and, like, to literally just say, you know, this is against galactic law. I'm like, that's not the argument to be making. She killed somebody. Like, I'm fine with the doctor taking a moral stance. It's weird to me when the basis of his moral stance is the letter of the law, when I always have felt that the doctor is a much more a spirit of the law kind of person. He's not going to let somebody stop doing something because, well, technically that's not illegal, so I'll just go away then. Like, whether or not it's illegal, like, I don't think it really should be on his radar at all. Is it wrong? Yes, it's wrong. Is it illegal? Who cares? It's wrong. And I'm harping on this a little bit, but like, this happens during this kind of this tail end stretch of Tenet. And I know part of it is to remind us that the shadow is to see the term Shadow Proclamation a few more times before we actually see them at the end of the season. So, like, I understand part of it is that, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing for me that I don't totally like. Another thing that is a little weird, this is something that I rarely have complaints about, but the music. As much as I love Donna, and as much as I'm not even going to say it's not fitting for her, I don't like Donna's theme music. You know, the do 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 do. Like, I don't like it. Like, I never have. It reminds me of, like, Robin Williams. Oh, this is a fun little scene, kind of like Ewok music or Jar Jar Binks music. Like, it reminds me of that, and it's annoying, especially because it's tied to a character who I love so much. And again, it's not even that the music doesn't work. I just don't like it. Like, my ears kind of just, don't enjoy that. There's also, this isn't actually a complaint, but it's something that I kind of get a kick out of. Is it like a written rule somewhere that villains who have a clandestine operation need to sneakily drop in hints to what they're really doing in their legitimate business? Because Miss Foster, foster mother, adipose, it's also the name of the alien species. The fat just walks away. It's like, I could almost see like an evil boardroom going, what do we do for a tagline for this thing that's not actually helping people lose weight, but instead is turning the fat into something living that then wanders off? We'll have it say, the fat just walks away. Just a room full of, boardroom full of people, like a guy with a big cigar. Yeah! Like, I don't know. Strikes me as weird that kind of thing is so prolific. And like, not even in Doctor Who, but like all over the place. It's always like, you learn what these companies are really up to, and suddenly it's like, they put it in the name. Wait, why did they do that? Again, not even really a complaint. It was just something that struck me while watching this. The reporter actually works as a decent red herring, because we find out that because the Miss Foster, or Matron Gaffilia, however you prefer, she is like, oh, it's her. She's the problem. And you're looking at a monitor, and you assume it's not, and we find out it's the reporter. So that's kind of a cool little mislead. I also like that the doctor frees her, says, you bet you might want to run. Instead, the reporter sticks around, starts rifling through files, and then turns around, and there's the villains again, and they're like, tie her up. It's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I enjoyed that moment a fair amount as well. I've mentioned this before, but I get to mention again. One of my Patreon supporters is in this episode. So the scene that takes place in the sort of restaurant that Donna's mother is visiting a friend in. There's a couple. They look like they're on a first date or something, kind of in the back. They get like 2 shots. The guy, purple shirt, that's Nick. Nick is a supporter of my Patreon, and I love that fact. And that has nothing to do with anything, but I love it so much. It makes me very, very happy, and it gives me an opportunity here to add an additional mention of the Patreon, so I guess it's also self-serving and all of that, subtle I ain't. But coming back to the episode, the resolution on the matron, that worked decently for me. I do like that the doctor, while he was certainly going to turn her over to the authorities, I'm sure, which I get, like, let me be clear, I don't have a problem with him turning people over to the authorities either. It's just like him invoking that the fact that it's breaking a law that makes it wrong. I don't know. I'll get off that. But I like that he is, telling her, like, look, just come on. This situation is not going to end well for you. It's to a degree that we actually haven't seen from Tennant as much as you'd think when it comes to the villain of the story. Because Tennant, established in his very first story, no second chances. He is I gave you a chance. You decided to do this. Now you will pay for that kind of person. So the fact that, like, he knows that she's in danger and is trying to save her life, I actually kind of like. It's one of the softer moments for Tennant, and I don't think it gets a lot of notice. I think largely because more often than not, he kind of does more often than not, his standard response would have been, oh, she's in big trouble, and then just kind of kick back and let what was going to happen. And I kind of like that he doesn't here. And I'd like to chalk and think that, partially that's Donna already starting to influence him, which we'll see a little bit more even in the episode after this. I think that was all the stuff I wanted to hit. If I remove the reunion of Donna and the Doctor, then the episode is just okay. But you put that back in, and I'm like, no, I enjoy this. Because I love these two together so much. Partners in Crime. You've seen it. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Whole bunch of stuff to do. I mentioned the Patreon. Supporting that gets you a look at the docket for the upcoming month. You get to vote in polls on subjects. There's the Discord. You can get your name in the credits. All sorts of rewards are involved. So check that out. Plus, down there, you'll find merch. You'll find links to my other social media. All sorts of things you can click on. Give it a look. Or don't. I'd appreciate it, but you also don't have to. Because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.